ta tỏ ra cái một trò bé lúc Hearst Casttle nè này mà sai thia sai một trong đi cháu chỉ tập bỏ lió stay page nhá nó chỉ là xíu luôn hiện giờ nó sẽ sáng đã nó đã sáng lâu nó chỉ hiện giờ sợ nữa hay tiêu lâm mà trong hà xia lì xia tiêu từ rồi tới chờ nhá trong đã non thì chỉ muốn sờ non này non tới chỉ muốn sờ non trong xia một non tới chỉ từ rồi chỉ muốn sờ non thế hiện giờ nhá non nữa sai bỏ hay là cái tơ thôi kia nó rồi cái tơ thôi kia thì nó một bó tỏ thế gì ô lò rầy tiêu mấy cho nhỏ mẹ cho tôi mà lò rầy ơ tôi bên tại lúa hộp theo nó thấu lộ tí tôi phải nó sẽ lăng từ cho nè ô tôi nè trong đấy nè ô trong mình chéo để nó lan chia đã tỏi cho sân ra mông nữa cho mông nữa cho mông chè là khi chè bé cho mông sái sái trong chả nó là hai sữa chỉ tập bỏ nữa chúng nó thay dù chè dù thay dù cái bên đó là cho nó nè để không để sao xí nó cứ sao nó một chiều mê mê xí tới gì nè giờ ấy khách chơi đóng câu cái nè sao bè luôn sáng đã nó chỉ cho hết xíu nữa chỉ tuần trẻ của nó chỉ mà mua cho sáng tỏ là mà mua lúa thóc bên mù xíu nè nó phải tập vô chỉ kể nữa nó bể luôn nè đã tới Christmas sẽ chị là trong trái cây trong gốc cây cái kệ nhân lại nó đấy lòng có thơ là mấy trái tôi sai nữa nên nguồn cầu nó mê nó sẽ chạy lên tôi sai tàu nè lần này là cho ta la là hai chẳng chỉ tao tôi khí ít lên nó lại mà tôi khí đó sao rồng cơ riêu giờ thì kể là no nè, giờ thì kể sáng là no em mà đi lo mua là Sao tận non á. Tập thịt kịch cái tao một chán non á. Macam mana? Banyak pakainya mula. Bé tình là đúng cây là chụp bé chân luôn ba. Đây.
Casttle, ba是能用墨西手拿路。
Mula.
Traveled the same road to visit the castle in the 1920s and 30s. But imagine Mr. Hearst first as young William, a boy following his father along the winding bridle path that would become this road, climbing on horseback 1,600 feet, or 488 meters, to a hilltop that was often sunny when the fog shrouded the coast during the summertime. Later in life, Mr. Hearst said that the road was so steep and the way so rocky that he only managed by hanging on to the tail of my pony. George Hearst knew California's landscape well, having traveled west as a miner from Missouri in the 1850s looking for gold. The geology that caused these steep hills to rise from the ocean floor millions of years ago was the same factor that brought precious minerals like gold, silver, and copper closer to the Earth's surface, allowing them to wash down the high mountain creeks of the West. Though thousands came west looking for easy riches during the gold rush, few succeeded. George Hearst was a skilled miner and geologist, and became one of America's richest men with investments in Comstock silver, Anaconda copper, and Homestake gold mines. But he never mined in this region. George Hearst bought the land at San Simeon in 1865 as a cattle and horse ranch. He had married Phoebe Ackerson Hearst in 1862, and their only child, Willie, was born in 1863. All three Hearsts grew to love this ranch, and they added to it until it eventually totaled over 250,000 acres, or more than 100,000 square hectares. You will also see open-fronted shelters made of logs that were built for animals in Mr. Hearst's zoo. His love of animals drove him to create the largest private zoo in America, filled with exotic animals from all over the world. You may see birds of tawny animals that resemble mountain goats. They are known as audads, and are descendants from Mr. Hearst's original herd, still roaming these hills and mingling with the cattle. Originally, this land was home to Native Americans of the Chumash and Salinan peoples, who lived there for over 9,000 years. It was claimed by Spain after 1769, and then settled by Californio cattle ranchers during a brief period of Mexican ownership. California joined the United States in 1850, soon after gold was discovered. George Hearst bought 3 ranchos and continued to run cattle on the hilly expanses above the Pacific. And 150 years later, this is still a family cattle ranch. The Hearst Corporation runs over 2,000 head of grass-fed beef on these hills today, largely black and red Angus. The cattle graze much as they always have, and depending on the season, you may see them along the hillsides. Randolph Hearst was 56 in 1919 when his mother Phoebe died, his father having passed away earlier. William inherited this land he had loved nearly all his life, and immediately hired a talented and singular architect, Julia Morgan, whose firm was located in San Francisco. Hearst was overheard walking into Miss Morgan's office and announcing he was tired of camping in tents. I'm getting a little old for that. I'm thinking of building a little something. Well, his little something became this estate of more than 165 rooms, and he chose to build it on the hill which had served as his family's original campsite. Morgan's first challenges were to make a road from the old bridle path, and also to bring water from the natural springs that were located on a mountain almost 6 miles east of this hilltop. To this day, water provided to the estate comes from the same 1.5 million gallon reservoir built by Miss Morgan and Mr. Hearst in the 1930s. Some of it is stored in tanks atop the castle's bell towers. You may also glimpse a 16 million gallon reservoir recently built by the Hearst Corporation to provide water for the permanent dam. These are the large trees we pass, which have spreading low branches, small dark green leaves, and rough brown bark. Mr. Hearst and Miss Morgan designed the road to wind around the trees, some of which are more than 300 years old. On the hilltop, they sited the buildings around the oaks, and occasionally even moved a massive oak out of the way as the castle grew. You'll notice the hillsides are also covered with grasses. With the winter rains, these grasses turn a rich green. In the summer and fall, they change color to a golden brown. Mr. Hearst filled these pastures with his exotic zoo animals. In his day, guests traveling this road would have passed by antelopes, yaks, giraffes, llamas, water buffalo, bison, and more than 100 other species. Most are gone now, but in addition to the audax, today you might see sambar deer and Roosevelt elk mingled with the cattle. Keep watching, and you may also glimpse some animals native to the area, including deer, foxes, and coyotes, as well as the large black birds that soar through the skies, known as turkey vultures. The views of the coastline can be quite spectacular on clear days. So too are the views of the twin-towered structure Hearst and Julia Morgan called Casa Grande, which means big house in Spanish, now commonly referred to as the castle. The road was designed so the castle would appear and disappear as you climb higher. Upon reaching the top of the knoll, we will travel through a landscaped area filled with fruit trees, which supplied some of the food in Hearst's time at the ranch. He grew nearly all his food on site, including beef, poultry, dairy products, and fruits and vegetables. You may also see on the left the remains of a columned arbor known as the pergola. It was a path for walking or riding through on horseback. Its columns were planted with fruit trees, apples, quince, plums, cherries, peaches, and apricots, among others, and it was canopied with grapes. At over a mile in length, it was laughingly referred to by Julia Morgan as the longest pergola in captivity.
Mà thì chụp lại
on the ugly blue-gray carpet, but you got to go to the head of the class.
Oh, okay. They said red.
Thank you. You will. There is one room where you will be on red carpet, but in most cases, stay on the blue-gray carpet. What else? No gum, no smoking, no vaping, no alcohol. If you have any of that, you have to give it to me. Water is the only digestible, okay? And take as many pictures as you like, although you are limited to 87 selfies. You can have another 13 if I'm in the selfie with you. If you go over 100, I confiscate your phone, and I have done this in the past. Okay? Now, to help us, it's a big group, okay? And I love big groups like this, but to help us, my fellow guy, Craig, he's in the back, okay? His job here is to address any hospitality needs that you might have during the tour, also to keep us together. There's a tour 10 minutes in front of us. There's a tour 10 minutes.
Good, Harry. A good group.
I would argue that. Who was president of the United States in 1863? Who? Abraham Lincoln. 1863, William Randolph Hearst was born. He's born into
Ito pala no.
only son in 1873. They stayed for 18 months. They don't come back to the United States for a year and a half. Mother and son become infatuated with Europe and the art and antiques of the countries that touch the Mediterranean, Spain, the south of France, Italy. The boy grows up. He learns his father has won the San Francisco Examiner in a gambling event. He asks his father if he could have it. He calls an architect. He says, I'm too old to continue camping. I want to build a little California bungalow. That's not what is behind me. Because after 3 months, he changes his mind. He tells the architect, I love the Mediterranean hilltop villages of a 400 or 500-year-old Italian or Spanish hilltop village on the central coast of California. That's what this is all about. Construction begins in 1920. After 4 years, it's ready for occupancy. There are 4 residential buildings, 3 what he calls cottages, and a big house. This is not the big house. This is the medium-sized guest cottage. 8 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, 2 sitting rooms, just for invited guests. It's done in the style of a Renaissance village. People love coming here. But he has a problem. The architect says he has a disease. What's the illness?
Well, the architect, Julia Morgan, called the disease a changeableness of mind. He's always changing his mind. And it wasn't, construction lasts 28 years up here, and he's always thinking of new things to do. Why don't we put fountains in here, right over here? But you know, if you keep changing everything, you're never going to get finished this place. And so the estate has never been completed. They never built these fountains over here, and these sculptures, these bronze sculptures.
But in the early 1960s, there was a film with Sir Laurence Olivier, Kirk Douglas, and Tony Curtis, a little movie called Spartacus, filmed at this pool. In 2014, a singer named Lady Gaga, have you heard of her? She paid $250,000 to film 2-minute videos here. One at this pool and one at the indoor pool, our last stop on the hilltop. By the way, this pool is the 3rd pool built here between 1924 and 1936. This last pool holds 345,000 gallons of spring water. It's 104 feet long, it's 58 feet wide, 3.5 feet deep near us, 10 feet deep opposite. Yes, sir, what's your question?
Is this before you get to swim
The way you swim in this pool, there are 3 ways. The first one is you get to know one of the living Hearst descendants. You get to know them and they can swim here whenever they choose. The second way is you become a member of the Hearst Casttle Nonprofit Foundation. Annual membership fee, $450. If you are a member, we offer you 2 or 3 times this summer, one of 50 tickets for a 2-hour event that allows you to swim in 55-degree water without a wetsuit. You get a towel that says Hearst on it. You get 2 glasses of mediocre red wine, and you get some recently thawed out hors d'oeuvres, all for the price of $1,000. Who am I going to sign up? I get a commission if I sign you up. How's the view? Do you like this pool? Do you think it looks good?
Is the pool all original still? The tile, everything?
From 1936. This is the 3rd pool.
Yeah.
Get you What you can do if you're excessively wealthy.
I noticed that a lot of the concrete is starting to
I had a couple of very good questions. The first question was, when did construction stop? It actually went on between 1920 and 1937. And then in 1937, William Randolph Hearst called the architect and said, stop the work. He was $1.4 billion in debt. Paid well, they're fed well, and they're entertained by movies and
Yeah,
material.
Terry's gone through the detailed work records. He is an architect. He is a professor.
Yes, ma'am. These are original tiles designed by Julia Morgan. The pattern of the terrace designed by Julia Morgan. The balustrade behind you designed by Julia Morgan. The landscaping, the placement of the sculptures, the cottages, the pool designed by Julia Morgan. And this is only one of her projects simultaneously going on with many others. Are we ready to take over? Every once in a while you'll see a very...
What year did they donate it?
1957.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to come back and enjoy the house too?
Yeah. Yeah. And so they don't sleep over, well, because they have, you know, the original beds and everything. They have their own beautiful vacation houses down by the beach. And we had a huge wedding here about 5 weeks ago. And I heard the number $8 million. Yep, we got the money. Yeah. That's all gold. And they date from about 7. My job is to keep reset over here.
We call this the refectory. And by the way, this is the only dining room on the hill. You come in here, Hearst wants all his guests to mingle. He loves mixing people up. You come in.
Wa châu trầu y trọng lòng thía trọng sai cụ thọ chỉ và cụ cho khó mì cả hai lũ cho họ khó chừng chân do vì lời hại cho hả tìa thọc tu chữ bi lũ trẻ nọ do ô lì trà nữ thêm mô nha thía do ô trà nữ họ bi tàu lũ trẻ nọ mô tê khó sư cụ chỉ họ ta khó thía ấy nay ít xa cho lầu bé chỉ bao lù chế bé cụ xã hạt tiền mua trọ và đá chỉ ta chỉ cho lùa lời bao chế lời mom nông mua tay khó cụ chẳng chân hạt tiền do về lịch trả do yếu mua ra đa nâng là hại màn tê ta chỉ mua trọ tay khó mê mê trọ xứ hay ua trao đồ này ý trọng nông thiê sai lựa rầu bé mà sinh chi đùa